So good afternoon to everybody. And those of you who have grown accustomed to me over the years will know I don't wish you a happy Lent. I wish you a fruitful Lent. A fruitful Lent. Because my own experience is that things happen to you. Sometimes at the very beginning of Lent, as happened to me yesterday. And they seem to be setting a tone, a message from the Lord about what you have to watch for in Lent. And as I looked at the readings last night, the word now comes up a number of times. And the first reading begins with something which you could just gloss over. Now. But as happens with so many expressions like that, a lot depends on the intonation. Did your father, your mother, or your grandmother ever say to you, now? Or now? Very often it was a bit of a reproach, reminding you that something was happening which you should not be particularly proud of. Think about it. And it is that sense that I think we should have if we are able to tune into this, that I want to invite you as having a particular meaning for us as we enter into Lent. Because one of the things that has really enveloped my whole mental process since the beginning of the year is how do I as a bishop, how do my priests, how do those of you who have any influence on others in terms of faith get people to make a real commitment this year, this Lent, that has a deeper meaning and that people are able to see that this is what God is asking of me. Now. Can you enter into this Lent with an awareness that although you've lived your life for 60 years, 70, 80 for those who are strong, there are some ways in which you take Lent for granted, and Lent comes, Lent goes, and you're no different for it. Some of us deal with Lent as if the only thing that matters is whether I went to confession and I went to a retreat. But nothing changes. Nothing changes. And over the last year, I've been able to enter into that with a number of our young people. They've told me. One person who made his confirmation a few weeks ago, he said to me, "Bishop, I don't know if I'm coming back to church, you know." I said, "Why didn't you tell me that before I confirmed you?" And his response was, because I look at my own family members who go to church, and I won't tell you the words he used, which really meant nothing changes. Beneath it all was they still treat me in ways that hurt me, in ways that tell me deep down inside they don't like me. Can we get in touch with those realities? Can we really look at ourselves with that now as an invitation to not simply do something that's not right and to recognize it, but to recognize it as something that we would rather not recognize and therefore quickly dismiss. And I want to challenge all of you today to first of all, because this is the most important part of it, to ask God for the grace to see your own life I don't want to say to look into the mirror, because sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't see. But to really see who you are before God, what you're doing, how you're living. To ask yourself what has happened in the course of this year, last year, 2024, that has made a difference to my life negatively. What has happened? Whatever has happened, how is it shaping you now, for good or for ill? And then, which is the real grace of Lent, the deeper grace of Lent, to pray for the grace in seeing to know what you have to do so that you may come to new life. Come to new life. Because that is the whole purpose of Easter, to move through Easter so that Lent, to move through Lent so that when you come to Easter, there is a new you. You've been renewed in some way. And all that I've said thus far really hangs on one word: truth. Truth. Who am I truly? As I face all the things that people say about me, say to me, what's the truth? Am I willing to walk in the truth about those I love? And this is particularly important this year because the world is heading down a road which can lead to disaster, because the whole world, its whole life, is wrapped up in a set of lies. Where's the truth in everything that's happening around us? Where's the truth in Ukraine, in the USA, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, in Russia? Where's the truth? And I find it very symbolic that at this point in time, Pope Francis is sick. His voice is stopped. And that voice that used to warn people about truth, you hear it no more. Perhaps we will hear it again. God alone knows. But the fact that in the midst of all this untruth, this lies, this lack of love, this manipulation, and lies and manipulation, wherever it is the work of the devil. Wherever. So when you become a manipulator, when you become a liar, not by accident, but deliberately, you are an instrument of Satan. So we are in a world in which all of that is going on. And you know what? We who are people of faith, we have to dare to believe that if we in our own little corner of the world, if we in our own household become people who speak and live truth, perhaps, the aroma from that, the glow from that, will reach beyond us, beyond my house, and in some way affect the world in which we live. One of the words that always teases me is the word for wisdom, sapientia in Latin, because it is a direct correlate of the word for taste, sapor. And what it has invited me to think, is that as we live your life, as I live my life, what is the taste that I sense in what I'm doing, in who I am being, in what I am becoming? So I invite you as we begin Lent to think on these things. Now. What is there that you know about yourself that makes you sometimes say to yourself, now, who is that really? What's really going on here? Are you deceiving yourself? And then to ask and to pray for the grace to walk in the truth of your own life, but also to recognize the truth of other people's lives. To ask God for the grace sometimes to give you the wisdom, the insight to see more than you normally see. For those of you who are workers in your office, do you really see the truth of the people who work with you? And if you see that truth, can you respond in truth? Or are you part of those who don't know one thing about what's going on, but who quick to run your mouth? Because I know that one of the greatest blessings anybody can have is to be living or working in the midst of a group of people who constantly do not understand what you're going through. And then one day, somebody says, you know, and they speak a word of truth to you. And you feel it literally. You feel the burden lifting from your heart, from your soul. And you're able to relate your truth to that person. And you thank God for the gift. May each of us, at some point during this Lent, experience that gift as coming from God and from our neighbor. And may we as a Catholic community here in Grenada become people who can bring that gift to the nation. Amen.